Welcome to our Christmas week, Christmas message. And hey, I trust that it's all going well for you. Only a few more sleeps until Christmas. Maybe you're one of those that still looks forward to the Christmas presents that come out. I'm always getting my wife to give me my Christmas presents a few days early. She resists it. We have a bit of a fight over it, but I like to get my presents early because I just love Christmas presents. Jesus, the door to the inn was closed, as we've been saying, but he was placed in a manger from where he became the Savior of the world. Do you know God's always picking people up when they have landed in hard places? You have a God who laid his head in the same places where you find yourself today. And he will help you take a closed inn and transform your manger into a place of hope, of new beginnings, and of great blessing. Here's a simple key for all of us. Make plenty of room for Jesus in the inn of your heart. That's really my message for this week. Revelation 3 verse 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and dine with him and he with me. Do you know God will go to great lengths to get our attention, to make room for him in the inn of our hearts? Great lengths. John the Baptist saw a dove and it helped his faith. Let me tell you the story of James Whitaker. He saw a seagull and as a result of that he believed. You ask, how did that happen? Well, James was a member of the crew that flew B-17 Flying Fortress, captained by Eddie Rickenbacker. October 1942, they were reported lost at sea. The plane had run out of fuel, crashed into the ocean. 9 men spent months floating in 3 rafts. They battled heat, storms, and sharks. After 8 days, their rations were gone. They needed a miracle to survive. One morning, after daily devotions, Rickenbacker leaned his head back against the raft, pulled his hat over his eyes. At that moment, a bird landed on his head. Rickenbacker caught it and the crew ate it. The bird's intestines were used for bait to catch fish and the crew survived. James Whitaker was an unbeliever. The plane crash, the days of facing death didn't change his unbelief. And in fact, Whitaker grew irritated when John Bartek, a crew member, was continually reading his Bible privately and out loud. It was one morning after the Bible reading that the seagull landed on Captain Rickenbacker's head. At that moment, through a seagull, Whitaker became a believer. Why? Because that seagull led to their survival. Isn't it amazing? The extremes that God will go to reach one lost person with the good news of salvation. And he goes to extreme lengths, I believe, to get your attention, to get my attention. Why? So that we'll make room for him in the inn of our hearts. Remember the birth of Jesus. There was no room for him in the inn. He was sent out to a cold manger, a place where animals were kept. No room was available to Jesus at the time of his very birth, when he came into the very world that he created. So the challenge I leave for you and I leave for me as we come into these final days into Christmas, please, let's make plenty of room for Jesus in our hearts. Let's think about it, focus on him, dwell on the saving grace of God and not get lost in all the busyness, the stress, and sometimes the difficulties that Christmas brings. I do pray that your Christmas this year, you'll make plenty of room for Jesus in the inn of your heart.